guys, welcome back to our channel, Boosted Mysteries, where we take our cars on drives to mysterious and haunted locations. I'm EILEEN, I drive a Subaru WRX.
I'm Eddie, I drive an FD RX-7. Hopefully we'll get some more content on that just so you guys can see what it looks like.
Yeah, unfortunately your car has some work that needs to be done on it, so you guys are going to just be seeing my WRX for some time now. Sorry guys, just wait, just be patient, it's coming. I promise.
But one thing I did wanted to talk about in the last video was about the beer that we got. It's called Sierra Nevada Sunny Little Thing. This beer is super good. We drank like 3 or 4 of them last time, and we can only say really good things about this beer.
It's delicious, super good. Tastes like orange juice to me, which is dangerous, but you know. Unfortunately, I miscalculated how many beers we had in the fridge, and I thought we had more, but we only had one. So I have to drink some. I don't have to, but I volunteered to drink some vodka, and I am disgusting, and I put Kool-Aid
in a coffee cup.
Don't judge me. But anyway.
So also I wanted to say before we begin here, I want to make sure everyone subscribes. If you're here, please hit the bell and subscribe, like the video, comment. That's going to help boost us, in the search so that we can get more views.
Please. You guys are awesome.
So today we're going to take you through one of the most mysterious murder sites in Los Angeles, California. It's called the Los Feliz Murder Mansion. The murder mansion was built in 1925 on a quiet cul-de-sac by an architect, Harry Werner, for a wholesale fruit seller, Harry Schumer, and his wife, Florence.
Yeah, unfortunately, Florence did die in the house on July 1st, 1928 of heart disease. And then Harry did die shortly after of pneumonia 27 days later. The house was then rented to several different tenants. One of those tenants did die of an infection during his tenancy there. And then the house went to, be itself and didn't have any deaths for almost 3 decades.
What did he say?
I think this is hidden. Don't put vodka and Kool-Aid together. Maybe I put too much vodka. Sorry. Anyways, then the house went on without any deaths for almost 3 decades until Dr. Harold Pearlson and his wife, Lillian, and their 3 children, Judy, Jewel, and Debbie, moved in the 1950s.
I'll put a picture of the family just so you guys have an idea of what they look like. So Harold was a prominent heart surgeon, professor of cardiology at the USC School of Medicine, and he authored a number of authoritative research articles in medical journals. He was also said to be an all-around great guy with no evidence of traumatic background that would have led him to commit such horrific actions against his wife Lillian and his eldest daughter Judy. So on December 6, 1959, Harold came home from work. It was a normal evening for the family. They had dinner and watched TV, and the Pearlsons went dark, literally.
Early the next morning, on December 7th, around 5 a.m., Harold was awake and reading his copy of Dante's Divine Comedy. Honestly, I've never read the book, neither has Eddie. So what we did was just kind of go on the internet and just type in summary of Dante's Divine Comedy, and this is what we found. So, quote, Dante's Divine Comedy is a complex work of art. It takes the reader through the 9 circles of hell, the 7 terraces of purgatory, and the 9 spheres of paradise. Each of the parts of the journey are full of dead souls who suffer trying to rid themselves of their sins or simply survive in the afterlife. End quote. Harold does leave this book open on a certain passage. The passage does go, quote, midway upon the journey of our life, I find myself within the forest dark, for the straightforward path had been lost. End quote. And then he goes to his toolbox, picks up a ball-peen hammer,
So I want to stop right here because it's super important. I want to ask what the viewers think about that quote, or not that quote, but that passage. I think for me at least, he's kind of lost his way and he's in a dark place and doesn't see the point of moving forward. So uh, comment below if you think it means something else or what your opinion is. But
Sorry, our cat just got on the view.
this is
Say hi, Ollie.
Ollieton Fenderton. That's his full name.
Anyways, go away, please, for now. Thank you.
Anyways, so this is where it gets really good. So he takes his hammer, goes into the bedroom where his wife is sleeping, and hovers over her and proceeds to bludgeon her to death. So he strikes her in the head, pretty much one swift blow, and pretty much kills her. I think what I read was she actually died from asphyxiation, right? Like she was like bleeding and she kind of just stopped breathing because like it hit that part of her head where...
Yeah, she didn't quite die from this, like the strike to her head, but she died from asphyxiation because you get hit in the head, obviously your brain kind of dies, and your brain is the muscle that tells your body what to do, so your lungs don't know what to do anymore and you die.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah. So Harold went over to Judy's room after that and then tried to strike her the same way. But this time it didn't hit Judy the same way it hit Lillian. So Judy actually threw up her arms and tried to cushion the blow. I think she had like an idea what was about to happen because I guess she heard, a loud bang in the other room. But she was able to fight off her father.
Which she's super lucky she did, especially being like a younger teenage girl and your dad's like much bigger than you. Like that's crazy. But anyways, the two other children, Joel, who was 13 at the time, and Debbie, who was 11, heard her sister Judy screaming, and they woke up to run out of their room. Harold saw them and told them to go back to their rooms and go to sleep. He told them they were just having a nightmare. The kids were probably old enough at that point to know that it wasn't a nightmare, but they ended up going downstairs to run away from their father's rampage and didn't listen to him. During this, Judy was able to escape. Her first instinct was to go to her mother. When she got to the room, she saw her mother laying breathless with a pool of blood soaked in the pillow. Judy knew it was too late at this point, so she ran out of the house and ran down the long pathway of the front yard to the neighbor's house. She banged on the door, screaming for help, but the neighbor didn't answer. So Judy tried a second neighbor. Luckily, Marshall Ross opened the door. Marshall actually had heard the screams and had already called the police. He let Judy in, and then Judy tried to explain to Marshall what her father had done and that her two siblings were in the house.
Yeah, so at this point, Marshall was super worried about the children that were still in the house. So he knew that the police were going to take a long time to get there since they lived, on a very far uphill. So Marshall decided to take matters into his own hands and go into the house himself. So when he got to the house, he saw Joel and Debbie on the first floor, and he told them to run to his house for safety. Marshall, after that, went to the upstairs and actually found Harold. And Harold was, at this point, super agitated and acting very irrational. So Marshall tried to calm him down, but Harold told him to leave and to leave him alone. So Marshall knew he had already gotten his kids to safety, so he left.
I mean, don't you think Marshall's really brave for going?
Yeah.
Would you have done that if your neighbor, someone came running at your door?
Well, maybe he had an idea that maybe Lillian was up there and he wanted to save her also, but then ran into Harold and thought maybe I shouldn't be here because he's kind of like an active killer at this point.
Yeah.
So he didn't want to go too deep into it. He just changed his mind after he saw Harold.
Yeah, he was in an agitated state. Maybe he couldn't do much. Then he was like, maybe let me get out of here. I don't have a weapon.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So police and ambulances finally arrive. Judy gets taken to the hospital. It's discovered that she had several fractures to her skull, but luckily she survives. When police go in to arrest Harold, they find him dead in one of the bedrooms, holding the hammer that he used to kill Lillian and struck his daughter Judy. Lying next to his body was a bottle of pills, and with his copy of Dante's Divine Comedy open to that passage that we had read earlier. Harold did overdose on pills and commit suicide. This story just kind of seemed so odd and didn't make sense to a lot of people. All of the neighbors said that they seemed like a really happy family. So the murder was super unexpected. However, upon doing some research, we did see there were some reports of there being some financial problems and some incidents suggesting that Harold may have been suffering from mental illness. Apparently, Harold had been working on an invention for a new syringe prior to moving into the house. He did pour all of his money into his project, along with some of Lillian's savings and some money from his family. He did end up spending about $32,000 on it.
Yeah, so I got curious. 32,000 back then in the 50s, like that must have been a lot. So what I did for you guys listening, I did an inflation calculator just to figure out how much that would be like in today's world. In today's world, 32,000 would be about 393,000. So that's a ton of money.
Sheesh,
like,
yeah, that's a lot of money.
If you put that in perspective, like it's a lot of money invested into one singular project.
For sure.
Harold devoted his life to make this new glass syringe that would make giving injections more efficient by lessening the risk of infection, by reducing the amount of bacteria that could enter the syringe, and to reduce leakage. Harold was not a great salesperson and had no idea how to get the syringe to the market. So he ended up partnering with Edward Shoestack in 1949. They both agreed to share 50%. However, Edward did him dirty. He was known to be a huge con man. He had no intention of getting Harold's syringe out into the market and instead wanted to take all the money for himself. Harold heard of this and was very infuriated. He sued Edward, and the lawsuit lasted for 2 years, and he ended up winning about $50,000. After all expenses were paid, he was left with about $20,000, which is $245,000 in today's terms. So this made him, I would guess, very upset. I mean, he invested almost double that. So I think at this point he's super duper mad. What do you think?
Yeah, he's probably upset. Like, okay, as someone that has had anger problems, I would have probably just like run away and just never come back. I'm just kidding. But like, I think that after you invest so much of your like life, your family time, because I'm sure he sacrificed so much of that, and your money, not
and
just
his wife's money.
Yeah, you're not just your money, but your wife's money and your family's money. Like, he must have just been going crazy, and like to have someone just take that from you after you work so hard for it, like it would just drive me nuts. Like I would want to go crazy. It would have pushed me off the edge.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Oh my gosh. Anyways, it was also said that the family wasn't really good at making financial decisions. So when Judy was like about 16, she had gone into an accident with her siblings in the car. It was unclear whose fault it was, but apparently Judy had run a red light. Harold did end up suing the other driver for about $50,000, but in the end just only won a few thousand. And it ended up just covering like medical expenses, so they didn't profit off of much. The family was known to be big spenders and continued their lavish lifestyles, even though they didn't have the money to compensate. Judy was a very popular girl. She was known to drive sports cars, have stacks of new shoes. I'm sure she had lots of clothes too. So it's clear they all had a status to uphold. There was some speculation that Dr. Prielson had numerous attempts on committing suicide because of his financial burden. At one point, he was almost admitted to a hospital for his mental illness. It was said that the reason he didn't kill himself, however, was because he didn't want to leave his family in massive debt.
3 kids, financial debt from going to school, and then spending all of your savings and your wife's money.
Your family's money too, yeah.
I think, in our opinion, he was very stressed, and he's gotten to the point where he doesn't see how to move forward from where he's currently at. I think he's like finally reached that point where he's at a breaking point. Either he deals with all the debt and brings his family down, down a notch, not to spend so much, or get rid of the financial burden by just killing himself, Lillian, and Judy. What do you think?
Yeah, like, I totally agree with that. I mean, people will say they seem like a normal family. However, I have worked in my past profession with some doctors. I mean, not all of them have been ethically correct. I mean, they don't work there anymore because of this, but I mean, they kind of went off the edge too, and they seem like a great person. Every murderer does to normal people, and then they just snap, That's the crazy thing about being human, is like sometimes there's just something that just makes you snap so hard that you just lose it. Maybe he blacked out, doesn't really know what happened.
He was dealing with death all the time because he was a surgeon. So he probably only saved like so many people, and a lot of people ended up dying. So it probably affected him
that
mentally.
Has a huge factor in it too. Like, I really do think that medical professionals should get some help, because they do deal with death all the time. Like, for me, it was almost normal, like, to talk about death like all the time. And I think that when you start talking about it at the dinner table with your family, they kind of just look at you weird, like, that's not normal, And I really do think that that's something that could have had something to do with this. Another thing being, like, he was under so much stress, like being the man of the household, supporting his family. And I'm sure his girls all wanted to have fancy things all of the time. Maybe they cornered up against him, like... Maybe
the wife and Judy.
Yeah.
That's why he ended up only killing them.
Maybe, or they were the only ones that were old enough to deal with financial burden, so he wanted to kill them so they didn't have to deal with it. Maybe, when you're in that state of mind, you don't really know, like, what's right from wrong. Like, you think you're doing something good, but you're actually causing harm. Like, he thought he was going to save his daughter and his wife from doing this, but he's killing them, Like, he doesn't really know what he's doing because he's mentally ill.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just a sad story.
Yeah, he went to was it like the mental hospital a few times. He was almost admitted. There's something going on.
Definitely.
Overall, the house did have a few owners, since then, but none of those people actually moved in. Like, they moved in like storage stuff that they had. Like, they used the house like as like a storage facility. I think what records show is that they were going to move in, and then they were like, wait a minute.
Yeah, like, most of the people bought the house for like a lot of money.
Like $3 million, something like that.
Yeah, and then took their things, left it there, but they never actually lived there, which is super weird, because, like, why would you spend so much money to buy a house for that much and not live in it? So that leads us to believe there's something more going on.
Probably there's some weird haunting stuff in there. That's probably why.
Yeah.
But, it's been untouched for 60 years, and it's been claimed that the house is cursed. So it's been an attraction as a, paranormal site. Paranormal investigators have actually investigated this house. Many people have heard voices or seen figures staring at them from the windows. And someone actually caught a picture of an apparition on camera. We'll put a link for that just so you can see like a little face. It's pretty creepy. It's not our material, but
yeah, we'll like just show you their Instagram or where we got it from. We don't want to steal their credit.
yeah, but on today's websites like Zillow, you can see the house listed, so it is for sale. So like you can actually buy this house for now 5.5 million. But when you look at the pictures, I'll put a picture up right now. It looks like it's fully renovated. Like they did some like computer generated renovations, and it looks amazing. But in actuality, it's just bare studs right now. It has nothing done to it whatsoever. I think they're just trying to market it for as much money as possible just to get the right seller. But the weird thing too is that they don't talk about anything that's happened in the house in the description on Zillow or any other sites. So it's kind of creepy. Like, how do you tell, potential buyer,
okay, so like isn't there a rule where like real estate agents only tell what happened like about like a certain amount of years? I might be wrong on this because I don't know, but I thought I heard something like a rumor about that.
I think it's if like a certain time frame or if it was the last owners.
Yeah, like a certain time frame. Like let's say a murder happened like 100 years ago, like they don't have to disclose it unless it happened 10 years ago. Like within 10 years. I think something like that.
You guys can tell us in the comments.
Yeah,
if you know, then tell us.
I'm kind of like, I don't know, but you can tell us, yeah.
So we want to go over like briefly how we felt when we got there. I know EILEEN did feel a couple things.
Yeah, so as soon as we got there, I mean, the house just looks kind of like neglected. So obviously it has that creepy factor to it. But we were walking around and then like you hear these weird like church wind chimes or church bells like ringing. Super weird. This adds to that like creepy factor. And then I could have sworn I heard somebody talking or like some voices. Mind you, before I went to this house, I had no idea that like people had heard voices before there. I didn't really know much of it. I kind of just like found this online. I was like, oh, we should go here. But I didn't really know too much about the story. And then after finding that many other people have heard voices, or seen figures staring at them through the window, I was kind of like freaked out because I had heard voices. Eddie heard voices too.
I did hear screaming, but I try to believe that the neighbor was doing that.
Yeah, like we don't really know if it was a neighbor, but we did hear something.
I heard male screaming, just to be clear.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Me too.
I don't know where that was coming from. It sounded like it was coming from the house on the left, but no one was outside or around there. I mean, I had the drone. I would have seen somebody. I would have seen him with a 360 camera, but I don't know. There was some weird stuff about the house when we got there.
Yeah. Eddie had some like weird camera malfunction too.
Yeah, like some of the equipment that I used, I tried to stop a recording and I had to press it multiple times and it didn't want to stop. I had to go in my phone and actually force it to stop. So I don't know what was going on there, but it was weird.
Yeah, it's never happened to us before. It's like brand new equipment, so super weird. I was also like looking at the windows and I was starting to see some weird like orange glow like coming from a certain window and then it would just disappear. I was wearing sunglasses. It could have been that, but I don't know. It was super strange because like I didn't see it before. It was creepy. Like I got chills just being there.
When we were doing the 360 camera, she did mention that she was seeing like a figure in the window. Like she was pointing to it. I couldn't see it. Maybe EILEEN's more sensitive than I am and can actually see some stuff. I don't know.
I swear I saw something. However, the mind does play tricks on you. So I'll leave it up to you guys to let us know what you guys think, if the house is haunted or if you guys even see something in our footage that we didn't catch. Let us know because I'm super interested. But yeah, like while we were there, we did have somebody drive up to the house and it was this lady. She was super cool. However, before she got there, I kind of freaked out because I thought maybe she was going to say like, what are you guys doing here? Get out, But she actually came and said that she comes up to see the property all of the time, that she is actually really interested in it. She's a local. And I asked if she's ever seen something. She said no. But she does think it's really weird how, the murders took place. It doesn't make sense to her either. And then while we were talking, the security came. That was fun, huh?
Yeah, it seems to be like another house in Los Angeles where lots of people like to come and visit the property because, it has that spook factor. There was like 2 or 3 people that came and drove by. Just like the Rosenheim house, there's always people driving by just to take pictures. But yeah, security got there and we got really weird about it because he was just like chilling right behind us. So we just took the drone down and just bounced. But
I mean, yeah, we weren't doing anything wrong, but like, it just doesn't feel right. So we just left.
Well, thank you guys. If you guys made it this far, thank you so much for watching. So make sure you like and subscribe.
Please.
That's super important.
Thank you guys so much again.
And then hit the bell. The bell lets you know when we post a video, so you'll get a notification on your phone. So that's super important. Click on that once we have new videos up, and it helps us to appear on search in YouTube. So thank you guys. We'll see you guys next time.
Thank you so much.